In her very first war council as queen, Rhaenyra Targaryen had an arsenal of dragons at her command, basically a nuclear deterrent that could have ended the war before it even started. But when her council called for fire and blood, she hesitated. On the surface, her choice looked wise, restrained, and queenly, but in reality it was the single biggest mistake she would ever make. This one decision, made around the painted table on Dragonstone, exposed a fatal flaw in how she understood power. It was a flaw that would unravel her entire cause and lead to her tragic end, long before the final blows ever landed. This is the story of how a moment of hesitation put the Queen on a path to ruin. To really get why Rhaenyra's choice was so disastrous, we have to look at the years leading up to it. Her whole life was built on a single promise that her birthright, declared by her father, King Viserys, was absolute. She was the named heir, the realm's delight, and she truly believed that the title alone was enough to secure her throne. And right there, that's the seed of her downfall, thinking that power is something you inherit, not something you have to actively take and hold on to. After she got married and had her sons, Rhaenyra made another quiet but critical mistake. She retreated to Dragonstone. While the Greens, led by her old friend Alicent and the shrewd Otto Hightower, stayed in King's Landing, she basically put herself in exile. She cut herself off from the heart of political power, from the daily whispers and backroom deals that actually decide who rules. This isolation was so dangerous. It allowed the Greens to tighten their grip, place their own people in key positions, and slowly poison the court against her. This wasn't just a physical move, it showed her entire philosophy. She thought her claim was so obvious it didn't need defending. In her mind, the game was already won, so why play? It's a classic mistake in the Game of Thrones. You don't build a fortress to hide away, because isolation is a death trap. Rhaenyra built a fortress of principle, believing her enemies would play by the rules and respect the line of succession. She was wrong. And this naivety, born from years of her father shielding her from the harsh realities of power, was about to blow up in her face at her very first war council. So the council gets called, and the news is bad. So Criston Cole, the Greens' commander, is already marching on the strategic fortress of Harrenhal. The first shots of the Dance of the Dragons have been fired. Her advisors, Daemon, Rhaenys, Corlys, all see it plain as day. The Greens have made an aggressive first move, and they have to be met with overwhelming force. Their advice is brutal and unanimous. Unleash the dragons. Burn anyone who resists. But Rhaenyra says no, and in this critical moment she says the words that seal her fate. If dragons begin fighting dragons, we invite our own destruction. Fear of it is in itself a weapon. It sounds thoughtful, like a ruler trying to avoid mass destruction. But here's the thing. She's completely misreading her opponents and the war she's in. Her logic is basically mutually assured destruction. She thinks the Greens will see her superior number of dragons and be too scared to act. But the Greens aren't making the same calculation. Otto Hightower and Criston Cole don't think like Targaryens. They think in terms of armies, allegiances, and taking ground. While Rhaenyra is debating the ethics of using dragons, Criston Cole is marching, completely unopposed and seizing territory. Her greatest weapon, the fear of her dragons, turned out to be no weapon at all because the Greens simply called her bluff. This moment also reveals a deep crack in her own council. Her lords, like Simon Staunton, don't see her hesitation as wisdom. They see it as weakness. They basically suggest locking her in a tower for her own safety, a slap in the face that says, "You're a figurehead, not a commander." Her male advisors see a woman being too cautious, too emotional, and it eats away at their confidence in her. She thinks she's being a wise queen, but to them, she's failing to act like a Targaryen king. Aegon the Conqueror didn't just threaten to burn Harrenhal. He burned it. Rhaenyra had the fire, but she didn't have the will to use it. It's this deep dive into character and strategy that makes the world of Westeros so addicting. If you're enjoying this breakdown, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell because you won't want to miss what we have coming up next. Rhaenyra's choice not to act immediately kicks off a domino effect of disasters for her war effort. Thinking she can still reason with Alicent, she sneaks into King's Landing to talk with her. It's a total failure. Alicent, furious and grieving over the murder of Viserys, offers no peace. Rhaenyra's attempt at diplomacy is completely rejected. All she accomplished was wasting precious time while Criston Cole's army kept marching. And that delay? It cost them big time. The Greens are able to consolidate their power without facing a single dragon. This leads directly to the battle at Rook's Rest. The same Lord Staunton who begged Rhaenyra to use her dragons now finds his own castle under siege. Forced to do something, Rhaenyra sends Rhaenys on her dragon, Meleys. The result is a tragedy. Rhaenys, the queen who never was, is killed in a 2-on-1 ambush by Aegon and Aemond. Just like that, the Blacks lose one of their most powerful and experienced riders, and a mature dragon. A devastating blow that could have been completely avoided. If Rhaenyra had just listened to her counsel from the start, she could have sent dragons in pairs or overwhelming numbers, preventing the Greens from ever picking them off one by one. Instead, her reactive strategy forces her into desperate losing battles. The loss at Rook's Rest is a direct result of the hesitation at the Painted Table. This initial failure also forces her to make an even more desperate move down the line. The sowing of the seeds. Needing more dragon riders, she offers power and titles to Targaryen bastards, a move that introduces unstable, ambitious and treacherous men into her inner circle. Guys like Hugh Hammer and Ulf the White would turn out to be vipers she welcomed into her own camp. This whole mess was a direct result of not using the powerful, loyal family members she already had on Dragonback from day one. Her first mistake wasn't just one bad call. It was the trigger for a chain reaction of paranoia, betrayal, and the unravelling of her cause. In that war room on Dragonstone, Rhaenyra was looking at two paths. One was the path of fire and blood, the brutal but effective path of her ancestors. The other was the path of restraint, hoping the threat of power was the same as power itself. She chose the second path, and in doing so she showed she just didn't get the brutal game she was in. She was ruling from a fortress of ideals while her enemies were waging a war of steel and politics. And that's the real tragedy of Rhaenyra. Her biggest mistake wasn't being evil or a tyrant, it was being fatally naive. She wanted to be a good queen, but she forgot that to be a queen at all, you first have to win the throne. Her downfall wasn't sealed when she lost King's Landing or even when she lost her sons. It was sealed in that room at the Painted Table when she decided that the fear of a dragon was more powerful than its fire. But what do you think? Could Rhaenyra have won if she just unleashed her dragons from the start? Or was her downfall shaped by her character and the world she lived in always inevitable? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.